All right, so you saw the title of the video. I'm just going to talk about it. So a big part of this channel is really just kind of me documenting my journey and just sharing it amongst anybody who's interested. And I think a powerful thing in Nofap, a lot of us definitely get into Nofap for the improvement of like relationships and maybe wanting to get with like higher quality women or even more women, build a rotation, find a girlfriend, find a wife, whatever it is, whatever your thing is. And I think what ends up happening is this becomes something that doesn't have the same weight as it used to. And what I mean by that is when you're on the FAP streak, let's say, and you're not doing no FAP, you're doing yes FAP. If you're doing yes FAP, you feel like you need to release more often. If you feel like it's something that you just do on a regular basis, and it may be something that you really crave, but what you find is that when you start getting really deep into nofap, the urges start to become more in control, and then you wind up finding out that, well, it's not really a big deal, like, you know, intercourse, releasing. You find out over time that it doesn't really do anything for you. There's nothing powerful about it. And you can crave, whether it's watching videos online or being with people that maybe don't fit your standard, but it could be an easy lay. We've all been part of that before. And I think it's important that we recognize how little importance that releasing it actually is in our life. We can live without it. And I think what the important thing is to recognize when you're on this nofap journey is to be in, when you eventually do get with a like a woman and you eventually release and you're not on retention anymore, but you may still be on nofap, make sure it's somebody that is of your quality and of your standard. That's the most important thing. Because once you settle for something that you know isn't your standard, you're going to feel like a little bit messed up. It's going to like kind of mess you up along the journey. What's important is that you stay true to your retention for as long as possible, and you only will release with somebody that you genuinely have care for and that you're genuinely connected with, that you're genuinely attracted to, and you don't feel like it's this forced thing. You don't feel like you need it. Those are important things to recognize when you're on the journey. Now, I think a big part of nofap is actually just letting go of the fantasies that we have around imagination relationships. And what I mean by that is, let's say you start talking to a girl and everything is like going well, you feel like you're confident with it, but then over time, you start to think and you start to fabricate different imaginary scenarios based around what that person does or how that person reacts to you. And then what ends up happening is none of that winds up happening, and you just end up maybe even turning the girl off because you're acting a little weird. That is a result of watching fantasy, right? Of partaking in PMO. If you're watching that stuff, that's where those thoughts are from. And over time, as you spend less time watching it, and you start to experience the real thing, you start to experience real conversation, real connection, you start to put yourself out there more. You start to recognize that you have a lot more value over your release because you know that it's going to come with at least some consequences. So it better be damn worth it, right? That's the big thing, because there is going to be a consequence. There's a consequence for all actions, and anything that's like really pleasurable, there's a consequence, right? You could release and then, you might get someone pregnant, right? And that's not good. You don't want that. That will ruin your life. What you do is you use this time to value yourself and to value your energy. And that's what then correlates to having higher quality women over time rather than just a lot, right? Because you can get a bunch of 6s and 7s in your eyes and what you perceive as a 6 or 7, and you can get a bunch of them, and maybe you can lay the pipe and make sure no one's looking, and you just kind of do your thing. Or you could dismiss that and you could start to move forward, continue to progress in your life, continue to get your finances in check, continue to get your body in check, your health in check, and your goals in check, You're working towards those things. And then what ends up happening is you improve your own value over time, and now you start attracting more of the 8s, the 9s, the 10s to you. So the important thing is to just not settle in that realm of dating, and to actually not be afraid to say no, or to turn something down, or to turn someone down. That's part of actually living the abundant mindset, right? We can't get caught up in valuing the release, in that, oh, we just need to do it right now. What we really need to do is just continue strong with our lives, and know that in the end, we're doing this for a better future. We're doing this to have a higher quality partner later. Because what do they say? They say that the top 80% of women will chase the top 20% of guys, while the bottom 80% of guys are kind of just like filtering around and chasing like the bottom 20% of women. Like, that's basically what happens. You're gonna see that one guy attracts like a bunch of different hot girls, right? A bunch of different hot women. And that comes from that confidence and that energy that comes with them. I have a buddy of mine who's never even like really participated in PMO. So he never really had to do Nofap. And for us, we have to learn how to detach ourselves away from that expectation and that outcome. The result of him not partaking in those habits for several years, like maybe you or I may have experienced, is that he never had those weird imagination fantasies. So he was always just a really super chill guy. And he doesn't, yes, there is a look to it. There's attractiveness, there's genetics, right? There's your eye color, the way your bone is shaped, what girls are into, right? There's all that. But there's an energy about it. There's a non-neediness. There's an energy that is of non-judgmental. And that is an important thing, because then that helps girls just be themselves. Because you have to remember that you have like two different types of like guys that aren't very successful with girls. You have the guy that is like, obviously these are extremes and there's cases where it falls in between. But you have a guy that's like really like putting the girl on the pedestal and is like, oh my God, she's so out of my league. I'm so lucky to have her, blah, 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 all that. And then on the other side of the spectrum, what happens is guys will become resentful or angry towards women because of the way that maybe the modern day is, and they follow like men that go their own way. And they'll say things like, oh, like she's a whore, or like whatever the case is, or like judge that she may have multiple partners, or judge that she may cheat in a relationship. The idea is to just accept that those things are part of reality, and to not get caught up in the emotional transcript that happens in your mind when you're thinking about it, right? Because that ultimately helps you live a better life. It helps you live a higher quality life, because you're not just thinking about this nonsense all the time, right? That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed in Nofap, right? Now that I'm getting to like possibly 70 days, I don't know, like I said, I don't really count. I just have like a ballpark of around 70 days. And I can definitely tell that there's less of that like neediness. There's less of that imagination thought process that goes on. It's drastically less. There's more of a grounding spirit when it comes to actually like having conversation, or making approaches, or even just like living my life as far as like my career goes, or my sports, or my performance goes. So yeah, that's the main topic I really wanted to talk about as we kind of go through this Nofap journey. We start obviously becoming more attractive, becoming more confident, and that's going to attract that like bottom layer of woman that you think is like, okay, well, like this is doable, like this isn't bad, it's not great, it's like okay, right? Like she might be like 20 pounds overweight, but she's a good personality, right? Like you start thinking about that. Kings, value yourselves. Bring yourself to a higher standard. Remember, I've heard like someone in the Nofap community talk about how like your hand is a 7. So it's like not even worth doing anything a 7 or below when it comes to like attraction or dating. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, I would say that. So let's say your hand is a 7 and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not going to use my hand. Well, You got to continue raising your value until you start getting attraction from the girls that you actually want. That's really the key, to notice that, okay, if I'm not getting like a choosing sign, or if I'm not getting attraction from the girls that I want, what can I do to improve myself? What can I do to raise my confidence, to raise my energy? What are some of the things that I can be doing on a regular basis to just improve the energy and the confidence? But also, what can I do on a regular basis that puts me more in front of the girls that I like? So that means maybe you like a particular type of girl. This is a really good exercise to do. Start thinking about what kind of girl or what kind of relationship that you want, and start to think about what are some of the things that that person is doing. Maybe that person really, like, maybe you really want a girl that does tennis. So you might start playing tennis because you want to learn about tennis and you want to meet more people in the tennis community. And you might go to things that are related to tennis. Like maybe there's like the big Olympics with the tennis, and there's like a big meetup, and you're going to go meet there at like some bar, right? You're probably going to find someone that is maybe like a fit tennis person, maybe if that's what you're into. Right? So the idea is to just think about what that person is into and start to put yourself in situations where there is more of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much where I want to leave it at. I got some things I got to go do, so I'm going to upload this. I hope you guys have a great day.